Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Shri Hari Naam Sankirtan ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. So thank you so much for coming this morning to this class on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we're reading from Canto number 10, chapter number 51, entitled The Deliverance of Muchukunda. And today we're reading from text number 46. Labdhvā jano durlabham atra mānuṣaṁ kathañcid avyaṅgam ayatnato nagha kathañcid avyaṅgam ayatnato nagha pādāravindaṁ na bhajaty asan-matir gṛhāndha-kūpe patito yathā paśuḥ labdhvā jano durlabham atra mānuṣaṁ kathañcid avyaṅgam ayatnato nagha pādāravindaṁ na bhajaty asan-matir gṛhāndha-kūpe patito yathā paśuḥ labdhvā jano durlabham atra mānuṣaṁ kathañcid avyaṅgam ayatnato nagha pādāravindaṁ na bhajaty asan-matir gṛhāndha-kūpe patito yathā paśuḥ.
labdhvā jano durlabham mānuṣaṁ kathañcid avyaṅgam ayatnato nagha pādāravindaṁ na bhajaty asan-matir gṛhāndha-kūpe patito yathā paśuḥ.
jano durlabham atra mānuṣaṁ kathañcid avyaṅgam ayatnato nagha pādāravindaṁ na bhajaty asan-matir gṛhāndha-kūpe patito yathā
mānuṣam
ayatnato nagha pādāravindaṁ na bhajaty asan-matir gṛhāndha-kūpe patito yathā paśuḥ.
Mataji's. Labdhvā, attaining, janaḥ, a person, durlabham, really obtained, atra, in this world, mānuṣaṁ, the human form of life, kathañcid, somehow or other, avyaṅgam, with undistorted limbs, unlike the various animal forms, ayatnataḥ, without endeavor, anagha, O sinless one, pāda, your feet, pādāravindaṁ, lotus-like, na bhajaty, he does not worship, asat, impure, mati, his mentality, gṛhā, of home, andha, blind, kūpe, in the well, patita, fallen, yathā, as paśuḥ, an animal. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace Shalesi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. That person has an impure mind. Excuse me. That person has an impure mind who, despite having somehow or other automatically obtained the rare and highly evolved human form of life, does not worship your lotus feet. Like an animal that has fallen into a blind well, such a person has fallen into the darkness of a material home. Purport. Our real home is in the kingdom of God. Despite our tenacious determination to remain in our material home, death will rudely eject us from the theater of material affairs. To stay at home is not bad, nor is it bad to devote ourselves to our loved ones. But we must understand that our real home is eternal in the spiritual kingdom. The word ayatnataḥ indicates that human life has been automatically awarded to us. We have not constructed our human bodies, and therefore we should not foolishly claim, "This body is mine." The human form is a gift of God and should be used to achieve the perfection of God consciousness. One who does not understand this is asan-matir, possessed of dull, mundane understanding. Om ajnanatimmirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thank you everyone for coming. Before I begin, I'll request the blessings and permission of my seniors. Try to share some thoughts as we hear about Muchukunda. Muchukunda has come out of his sleep. This is a historic moment, an auspicious moment. In the West they have a saying, sleep is my drug, the bed is the drug dealer, and the alarm clock is the police. So sleep is such a formidable enemy. Just the other day we came for Mangalarti at Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi, and it was packed. There were so many, there was hardly space to come in. And then His Grace Panchagoda Prabhu, he came to me and he said, see, Srila Prabhupada's still waking everyone up. So it was nice because yes, Srila Prabhupada gives darshan at 4:10 in the morning, and therefore we get up. But not just that, Srila Prabhupada is waking us up to the reality of the purpose of life. Not just physically waking us up, but spiritually waking us up. Sleeping in the lap of Maya, Pisachira, the witch of Maya, we're sleeping in the lap. And therefore, overcoming sleep is the first step in awakening ourselves to the spiritual reality. Therefore, in spiritual culture, it's always recommended that one is minimizing their sleep. Actually, it's said that everyone is sleeping excessively in the world, but there's only 3 types of people, it's said, who are not sleeping excessively. It's only 3 types of people who can't sleep at night: the bhogi, the rogi, and the yogi. The bhogi means the one who is intensely seeking material enjoyment, and therefore they cannot sleep at night because they're in anxiety. How will I achieve this? How will I achieve that? Maybe someone will take something away from me. Too many anxieties, therefore. Chintam aparimayam cha pralayantam upashrita kam upabhoga parama etavad iti nishchita. Krishna says, the demoniac person has so many desires, and therefore they have so many anxieties. And because the bhogi has so many anxieties, they can't sleep at night. And then it said the rogi, they cannot sleep at night, because the rogi means one who is sick. Even when you want to sleep, if you're diseased, you cannot sleep. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was never asleep. But even Srila Prabhupada, he said in the final days, I think it's mentioned in Tamal Krishna Maharaj's diary, Prabhupada said, throughout my life, I never did mating and defending. And now in my old age, Krishna isn't even allowing me to do sleeping and eating. So when the health goes, when one is diseased, then even then they cannot sleep. But then the other person who is not sleeping at night is the yogi, the one who is awake, jagrato, awake to the ultimate purpose of life. And now Muchukunda has awakened from his long slumber. In these beautiful prayers of Muchukunda, he's saying, may I not go back to sleep again. Because yes, to be a yogi means to minimize your sleep. Even Arjun was known as Gudakesh, isn't it? One who conquered sleep. We hear the famous story in the Mahabharata of how one time Arjun was eating, isn't it? And somehow the sun had gone down and there was a lamp and he was eating, and then the wind blew the lamp out, and in the dark he continued eating. He realized, my God, in the dark my hand can still find my mouth. Mystical. Then he realized, if I can eat in the dark without even seeing, if my hand can find my mouth in the dark, then surely I should be able to also practice archery. Surely my arrow should reach the target at night also. And therefore he said he began practicing at night time. While everyone else was sleeping, he was awake, practicing, not wasting any time. And therefore he became accomplished as the greatest archer. Here we are in Vrindavan, and the Goswamis, they were also Nidra hara vihara kadi vijito chatyanta dino chayo. Nidra, ahara, eating, sleeping, all of these things were minimized because they were so absorbed in Krishna. The minimization came automatically for the Goswamis because they were so absorbed. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami is explaining that there are different symptoms of bhav. Kshantiravyathā kalatvam viraktir mānuṣaṁ ashabandha samutkantha namagane sadaruchi ashaktistad gunakhyane pritistad vasatistale ityadayo nubhavasyo rajata bhavan kure jane. Rupa Goswami says, as you develop bhav, transcendental ecstasy, there will be certain observable symptoms. And one of the observable symptoms is virakti. That one naturally becomes detached, one naturally becomes indifferent to the pushings of the body because of spiritual absorption. Some people think the Goswamis were going and sleeping under a different tree every night so that they wouldn't get attached. But actually our acharyas say the reason why they were going tree to tree every night is because under every single tree, Krishna was revealing to them all the different pastimes that he performed there. And therefore they were naturally interested. Let us move from tree to tree. And then the renunciation was coming automatically. This is virakti, the difference between vairagya and virakti. Vairagya is a type of renunciation that we perform out of knowledge, out of discipline, knowing that it's good for us. But when one becomes sufficiently advanced, then virakti, the detachment comes. So, nidra hara vihara kadi. The Goswamis were minimizing sleep. Srila Prabhupada himself, as we hear from Srila Prabhupada's disciples, was hardly sleeping. I think it was Guru Kripa Prabhu on the memories, he was saying, he was describing how Srila Prabhupada would sleep. I think the way he described it, he said, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes cross his hands on his chest and lie down. He said there was never any snoring. And he said as soon as Srila Prabhupada woke up, he was just like fresh, like ready. Usually for us it takes some time to get the engine going again after sleeping. So Srila Prabhupada, he was hardly... Tamar Krishna Maharaj in another memories, he explains one time he was in a car with Srila Prabhupada and he said Srila Prabhupada didn't like it when the devotees would fall asleep and doze off in the car. So he said he was next to Srila Prabhupada and he was dozing off. So Srila Prabhupada tapped him and said, "You're sleeping." He said, "No, Srila Prabhupada, no, I'm not sleeping." Prabhupada said, "No, you're sleeping." He said, "No, Prabhupada, I don't think I was sleeping." Prabhupada said, "You were sleeping, chant Hare Krishna." And then in that memory, Tamar Krishna Maharaj says another time he was in the car with Srila Prabhupada at the back. And in the front, I think it was Upendra Prabhu. And Tamar Krishna Maharaj says Upendra Prabhu was dozing off in the front. And so Tamar Krishna Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, they could both see. So Tamar Krishna Maharaj was seeing what Srila Prabhupada would do. And then he said, as Upendra was dozing off, Srila Prabhupada reached forward and just caught hold of his sikha. And so when he dozed off, then his head jerked. And then Upendra, he looked back and he thought that must have been Tamar Krishna Maharaj. So he got angry at him, but he didn't realize it was actually Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was training the devotees that not to waste life sleeping. When sleeping is more exciting than being awake, then it means our life is not exciting enough. They say the best alarm clock in the world is purpose. Because when the eyes open and we have purpose, there's no reason not to come out. So, of course, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that we have to be also balanced. Natasnyatastu yogosti na chaikanta manashnata na chati swapnasilasya jagrato nevacharjuna. Krishna says one cannot be a yogi if one eats too much or eats too little, if one sleeps too much or sleeps too little. And therefore one must also be regulated. Yukta ahara viharasya yuktatesasya karmasu. One must be regulated in all these things. Maybe also devotees have also gone to the other extreme of trying to neglect their sleep. Many cars have been crashed in the Krishna consciousness movement because devotees didn't get enough sleep.
Prabhupada had to forbid night driving in 2 letters.
Yeah.
Because the 2 devotees in Ohio, 1969, they died of a car crash
Yeah.
because they were driving at night. So Prabhupada sent out a letter, no more night driving.
Yeah. Yeah, many cars have been crashed, many bodies have been destroyed. Many stops have been missed on a train. One devotee did that once. He missed he was sleeping. He missed the stop on the train. He had to go 2 hours forward, 2 hours back. So we have to also be balanced and also ensure that we get enough sleep. But the point here is that Muchukunda has come out of his sleep, and therefore he's now praying. Let me not waste it. Let me not now go back to sleep. That happens to us, isn't it? When the alarm clock goes off in the morning, one type of person doesn't even hear it. The second type of person hears it but shuts it down and goes back to sleep. The third type of person hears the alarm clock, wakes up, but then just lies awake in bed. And then the fourth type of person gets up, but then they take like 1 hour, 1.5 hours to get ready just to, So when the alarm clock goes off, there's still many ways in which we still remain asleep, even though we're awake. And this is basically what Muchukunda is praying that we don't do. Because the alarm clock has gone off. We've woken up. But have we woken up? Is there a chance that we could go back to sleep again? Yes, that's very much a possibility. And therefore, I was on parikrama yesterday and, so many dogs are there. Srila Prabhupada would often say in his lectures, quoting Chanakya, that there are 6 things you can learn from a dog. The first thing is that a dog, if it has food, it eats to its heart's content. First lesson. Second lesson, if the dog doesn't have food, then it's content. It can still continue functioning. Third lesson is that a dog is fiercely loyal to its master. Fourth lesson from a dog is that it's very courageous. See? Very brave, courageous. And then the fifth lesson you can learn from a dog is that it can sleep anywhere. And the sixth lesson that Srila Prabhupada said you can learn from a dog is that as soon as it wakes up, it's immediately active. That's actually a profound lesson. Once I was walking on the Parikrama Marg actually, and I accidentally stepped on the dog. And immediately, immediately awake, active, alert, alive. So that's actually a profound lesson. That once we are awake, we have to really be awake. And therefore you'll see when the devotees are awakened to this knowledge, you find all these stutis, these prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam that they're praying, let me never go to sleep again. Let me not be inattentive. Let me not waste this opportunity. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the final part of the Madhya Leela is very, very beautiful, because what Mahaprabhu is doing is grounding the whole Gaudiya Siddhanta in the hearts of Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. And there in Varanasi, when Mahaprabhu is instructing Sanatana Goswami, then he's giving many, many beautiful analogies. And one of the amazing and beautiful things that Mahaprabhu tells Sanatana Goswami is the story of the astrologer. He tells Sanatana Goswami this story that there is one astrologer called Sarvagya, one who knows everything. And Sarvagya, he goes to a home of a very poor person. And he does the astrology of this very, very poverty-stricken person, and he says, I can't understand why you're living like this. Because in your chart, you're a rich person. In your chart, there's a great treasure which is awaiting for you. But the thing is, you don't know where it is. And therefore, you haven't gone time to go there and excavate the treasure. But you don't know that your father, he was a rich man. But before he could tell you where that treasure was, he disappeared. And therefore, let me now tell you where that treasure is, where you have to dig to find that wealth. And he says, as you go and search for this treasure, don't go to the south. Because if you go to the south side, then there is poisonous wasps. And the poisonous wasps represent fruitive activity, overcome again by karma kanda, or some kind of material enjoyment. You become diverted. Don't go there. He said, don't go to the north, because in the north there's a black snake. And that black snake will devour you if you try to find the treasure there. And the black snake represents the yogis who try to meditate and merge and become overcome by all kinds of desires for liberation. And then he says, don't go to the west side, because on the west side there's a ghost. And that ghost represents speculation and all kinds of knowledge stolen away by illusion. He says, don't go there, you'll again miss the opportunity. He says, therefore, there's a great treasure. And be careful, don't go in any of these directions, but rather go to the eastern side. And in the eastern side, you will easily find that treasure. It's a very, very beautiful story, because it's teaching us that, yes, now we're awakened. Srila Prabhupada, the Acharyas, they've awakened us to where that treasure is. So now we have to be awake to that. It's very, very beautiful when we see in our scriptures how once someone gets the call, there's no hesitation. They just walk that path. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Miniketana Ram, had come to his family home and was offended. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami could understand this is a great misfortune. We have offended a Vaishnav in our home. If this happens, then everything is lost. So he was lamenting. And then that very night, Nityananda Prabhu came to him. Hare Hare Krishna Das na karaha bhai, Vrindavana yathā sarva labdhvā. Nityananda came to him in a dream and said, Hare Hare Krishna Das, oh my dear Krishna Das, na karaha bhai, don't worry about anything. Vrindavana yathā, when you wake up tomorrow morning, just go to Vrindavan, sarva labdhvā. And there in Vrindavan you will achieve everything. So it's amazing that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the very next morning, he just woke up and there was no hesitation. He just left. He didn't know where he was going, what he would do, where he would live, how he would survive. But the call came, and therefore he walked the path. Sometimes we don't know the whole journey, just like now it's this morning we were walking to Mangalarti and you can hardly see your hand in front of you. And you think, how are we going to make it there? But as soon as you walk forward, then the rest of the path is revealed. And as you walk a little further forward, the rest of the path is revealed. Sometimes we don't know the whole path of our spiritual life, where the beginning is, where the end is, where the middle is. And therefore we feel, how can I walk the path? But the devotee, when they get the call, even though they may not understand the full journey of how it's going to work, they still walk the path. And as they walk, Krishna reveals more and more and more. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he got the call, when he woke up, he didn't go back to sleep. Neither did he go back to sleep physically, neither did he go back to sleep spiritually, but he was fully awake to the call, and therefore he walked that path, and he came to Vrindavan. Nityananda Prabhu said, Sarva labhya hai, you'll get everything here. And what happened? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami got everything. He got the most exalted association in the universe, the association of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. He got the most exalted residence in the entire universe, Shauta at Sri Radha Kund. He got the most exalted service in the whole universe, the opportunity to document the life and times of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way, Sarva labhya hai, he received everything. Because when the call came, he never hesitated. So in our life, the call comes, the instructions of the spiritual master come. Sometimes the instructions of the spiritual master have to be delayed, but those instructions can never be denied. And therefore, as soon as the instructions come, the disciple is always awake to those instructions. And even if it's not possible to fulfill them immediately, the disciple is always meditating, internally preparing, evolving, developing themselves towards the point where they can fully embrace the call of the spiritual master, the call of Krishna. And so here, Muchukunda, in this very beautiful prayer, is saying, let me not now fall, gṛhāndha-kūpam. Prahlad Maharaj says the same thing to Hiranyakashipu. Hitvatmapatam gṛhāndha-kūpam vanam gato yad dharimāśrayeta. If you've fallen into the dark well of materialistic life, then immediately you must come out and you must go to the forest, take shelter of Krishna. So today we meditate on this as Muchukunda has woken up and now doesn't want to go back to sleep. There is a possibility that we can wake up and still go back to sleep or still be asleep. And that is the danger that we have to try to avoid. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll open it up here to see, maybe there are some comments from senior Vaishnavas, or if anyone has any questions or anything would like to ask. I'll just ask first if seniors.
Hare Krishna, thank you. You mentioned of course, with Krishna Maharaj, Srila Srila Prabhupada. When you were with Srila Prabhupada, you got to see very often how he didn't appreciate seeing his disciples sleeping, and other than when it was bedtime. So I'll just tell one instance. Was on a very big 747, and I was with Srila Prabhupada, so he always sat at the window seat, and I was sitting right next to him. And it was a short flight. It was just from New York to Detroit, which is like 1 hour flight. And 747 was, at the time, it was the jumbo jet, they would call. So you had 3 seats, then you had like 5 in the middle, and 3 seats. So because everyone knew Prabhupada was traveling from New York to Detroit, many of the devotees, they wanted to be on the same plane as Srila Prabhupada. So they knew where Srila Prabhupada was sitting, so Prabhupada was there, I'm next to him, and then all across were all devotees, all saffron-clad, shaved head, tilak, and the plane takes off. This is 10 o'clock in the morning, and the plane's filled with so many other people. And Prabhupada's sitting, and of course, his hand in his bead bag and he's chanting. And I'm sitting next to him, and Prabhupada's looking, and all you would see was one after another. Of course, these same devotees were the ones that were up all night preparing New York temple for Srila Prabhupada's arrival. So we're very often sleep deprived. But nonetheless, Prabhupada didn't like it, and to see the heads just going, phew. And Prabhupada looks at me. Why are they sleeping? I would never say anything. I didn't know what can you say? Why are they sleeping? Because there's no good excuse for Srila Prabhupada. Even if I say, well, Prabhupada, probably they didn't sleep all. No, you can't give any reason. You say, look, everyone on the plane is awake except the devotees. Sleeping very comfortably, he would say. He said all the karmis, and Prabhupada would say karmis. He would use that word. He would say all the karmis working very hard, he say, to support their families, for their sex life. No, not the devotees. Sleeping very comfortably, he would say. But it was one of just dozens of times, myself, the entourage, anywhere all the time. Sleeping, like, as you said very nicely, is the very first thing we have to conquer over. But I can tell you from my personal experience, it can take a long time to conquer over that desire to sleep. He's still working on it. But yes. And then he would go on the other extreme. We would listen to him all the time, telling us, sleep less, eat less. So when you're traveling with him, you hear this every day, just like your Prabhupada's classes were all philosophy, instructing us what to do. So we would sometimes do that, and he would condemn sleeping too much. So we were in Mayapur, and his Sanskrit editor, our Panditji, he was, as all of us, he was very fond of prasadam. Prajumna liked prasadam, you know. But he's hearing Prabhupada's lectures. Sleeping too much, have to reduce sleeping, have to reduce eating. So every morning we would have breakfast on the veranda, right outside Prabhupada's room in Mayapur. And Prabhupada, he would come out and he would just look to see what we were eating, always interested to see. He was always aloof, a hand in his bead bag, but he saw everything. We saw everything going on. And the one day, he told the Bengali brahmachari who's serving, he said something to him as he was serving me. So what did Prabhupada said? He said, he told me to give you a lot of chapatis. And then Prabhupada looked at me, he said, where's Prajumna? I said, oh, Prabhupada, he's in the room chanting. He said, why isn't he taking prasadam? He's asking me. I said, well, Prabhupada, I said, he's trying to reduce his eating. Prajumna found somewhere, one shastra, but you can live on milk, and he would eat 8 almonds, blanch almonds overnight, take the skins off, and that he thought he was going to survive on that because Prabhupada said, sleep less. So then he goes into the room where Pradyumna is, and Pradyumna is sitting on the floor, and he's surrounded by his books, like a wall of books, Pradyumna Panditji. Prabhupada once said, he's carrying so many books, he doesn't read any of them, he said. Pradyumna, why aren't you taking breakfast with the devotees? Prabhupada, he said, if I eat too much, he said, then I sleep. Prabhupada looked at him. He said, how can you do your service without eating? He said, sleep 10 hours if you have to sleep. He said, but you have to take prasadam and do your service. Yes, Prabhupada. So he would say, but then it was not a question of, as you say, false renunciation. It's a process. Like I say now, anyone will tell you, I sit down, why aren't you eating? Even my godbrother, because it doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't digest anymore. So everything comes in its own time. But Prabhupada always encouraged us from both sides. You're eating, you're not eating. Whatever we did, we were wrong. That was the basic lesson. We're always wrong in front of Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. My question was that just yesterday I was reading a book and I read this particular sentence, which I have also read in Prabhupada's book, that the advancement of a devotee in Krishna consciousness depends on his attitude. So my question was that what is that attitude, right attitude, and how to maintain that in our progress in bhakti? Thank you.
So what is Srila Prabhupada says, the advancement is dependent upon the attitude. What is that attitude? So Rupa Goswami is explaining, Utsaha nishchaya dhairya tattat karma pravartanat sangotyagat sato vrite sadbhir bhaktir prasidyati. There are principles which are favorable to the advancement of your devotional life. One, be enthusiastic. Two, be patient, be determined, be confident, follow the regulations, the lives of the acharyas, give up non-devotee association. This is the disposition. Srila Prabhupada, often if you read the folio, he specifically emphasizes enthusiasm and patience as the ideal attitude. If one is patient but they're not enthusiastic, that's the mode of ignorance. If one is enthusiastic but they're not patient, that's the mode of passion. But when one is enthusiastic, tempered by patience, then that's the mode of goodness. And when we perform devotional service with that kind of disposition, then it has a powerful effect. And then of course there are so many other things, to be humble, to be tolerant. Titikshava karunika surida sarvadehinam, the way we deal with others, so many aspects. So, thank you. Anyone else would like to?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for such a wonderful lecture. And please accept my humble obeisances. So, Maharaj, as you said that when the call comes, the devotee never hesitate. But as especially for me, as I say, that sometimes the taste for material things, we are there in the association of devotees, such wonderful devotees. Devotees are very compassionate. They always try to help us. But still being in the association, sometimes the taste for material things are so strong that that don't allow us to just take us back to that thing again and again, and something it feel after some time it feel very regret in the heart that what I am doing, and if we continue doing like this, then that mercy of the devotees, just like Krishna's mercy, will stop coming. And but the devotees are very merciful; they will saw. But that is also sometime it is very it's an offense to the devotees. So how to tackle that? That how to be so strong that we don't go back to that material thing and again, and that call comes, is totally surrender. Thank you.
It will take time, therefore enthusiasm and patience. In the Bhagavatam there's a beautiful verse, Jata shraddhamat kathāshu nirvina sarvakarmashu veda dukhatmakan kaman parityagya pyanishvara. We'll do a survey here to see if it relates to you. First line says, Jata shraddhamat kathāshu. There is a devotee who has awakened faith in the narrations of the Supreme Lord and the philosophy of the Bhagavatam. Put your hand up if you've developed some faith in the Bhagavatam. Okay, you qualify. Jata shraddhamat kathāshu nirvina sarva karmashu. And that devotee knows that if I engage in material things, I'll end up miserable. Put your hand up if you know that. Okay. Veda dukhatmakan kaman parityagya pyanishvara. But even though they know all of those things, still they're unable to give up material activities. Okay, there you go. You qualify. So the first verse defines the problem. You've awakened faith. You know material life is miserable, but you're not able to give it up. Thankfully, there's a verse after which gives the solution. Tato bhajaty tamam prita shraddhalur dhritanishchaya. Where's the next line? Okay, I forgot the last two lines. But the first two are most important anyway. Tato bhajaty tamam prita shraddhalur dhritanishchaya. If one is in this situation, what can they do? The Bhagavatam says, Tato bhajaty tamam prita. You just have to carry on serving with love. And all the while praying to the Lord that I know this is not helping me. I know this is not beneficial to me. Please give me the strength to give it up. Some problems you can't solve in your head. Many problems you can't even solve through your own efforts. But what we do is in our head we make it clear. With our efforts we give everything we have. But then you have to get on your knees and you have to pray to Krishna. Give me the strength. Therefore the Bhagavatam is full of prayers. Because at a certain point you realize knowledge and effort just isn't good enough. I need to pray to Krishna. And maybe if I become a little sincere from my heart, then Krishna will give me the strength. It just takes, actually it just takes a sincere mantra chanted to Krishna, and Krishna will free you. But it takes a long time. Eka Krishna nama kare sarve papa kshoy. Eka Krishna nam is enough. But to get to that Eka Krishna nam, to get to that one mantra, you have to do a lot of mantras before. But one mantra is enough. There's a beautiful verse that, what is that verse? Okay, I can't remember it. If one chants my name once with devotion, that one is there, but there's another one, Bengali verse. Then Krishna says, Maya bande hoite Krishna tare kare par. I free them from Maya immediately. So I think it's a matter of becoming prayerful. In my life, I felt at some point I was not so prayerful. But the path of bhakti is a path of prayer. It's a life of prayer. So there comes a point when you realize we just have to pray. And not that we don't do everything else, we do. But without that added element of prayer, it won't work. That's what came to my mind. I'm sure there's many ways to answer that question, but that's what came to me today. Hare Krishna. Okay. I think I can give Mataji's a... I may want to give the ladies opportunity.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. I really liked your analogy of the fog, walking in the fog, that we can't see where we're going and we can't always even see how we're getting there, but it is revealed as we go along, little by little. But I was thinking there are so many unknowns in Krishna consciousness. You know, internally there are so many unknowns. Even externally, practically speaking, what we're meant to do in this world, there are so many unknowns as far as the future goes. And sometimes we also get contradictory instructions. You know, like you're not sure what to do, and one devotee says, "Oh, you should just be detached." Another devotee says, "No, you really need to do something about this." So what to do? You know, it's not always so clear, even in the present.
So I'll begin with that and then come back. So sometimes we get contradictory instructions. It's interesting here, as Grace Shrutikirti Prabhu was saying, even it seemed Prabhupada often gave contradictory instructions. And it's interesting, even if you read Shastra, it can seemingly be contradictory instructions. His Holiness Hridāyananda Maharaj says a nice thing about the seeming contradictions in Shastra. He said they're like literary speed bumps. So you know, like when you go on a road, there's speed bumps, which are extremely annoying. But the speed bumps are there to make you become more conscious about how you're driving and more conscious about your environment around you. Otherwise you just speed on, completely oblivious to everything around you. So sometimes Shastra and sometimes even the Vaishnavas, they give us seemingly contradictory instructions to help us think more deeply. What is the essence? What is the principle? How does it relate to my life? So sometimes those contradictory instructions are a beautiful mechanism to actually help us to think more deeply about our journey. If someone just came to us and just kept on giving us the answers in a very clear way, probably we'd go throughout our whole life and be unconscious and not really think deeply. The other reason that contradictory instructions are there is because life is complicated and there are many aspects to life and there are many ways to view things, and two statements which seemingly are opposite don't necessarily have to be contradictory but can be true from their own perspectives. If I say to you, who was born first, the son or the father, then it seems like an obvious point. Of course the father was born first. The father is born before the son. But then I could say, no, until the son was born, he wasn't a father. He was just a man. So the son is born and then he becomes a father. Now here you have two contradictory statements that are seemingly contradictory, but what are they? They're actually paradoxical. They can be reconciled on a deeper level. And so when we seemingly get different instructions, we should see how to understand the essence of those instructions. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, my spiritual master Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji gave me 3 instructions and I followed them perfectly. Number 1, never go to Calcutta. Number 2, don't open many temples. Number 3, never make any disciples. He said he gave me 3 instructions, I followed them perfectly. I said, really? He said, yes, because when I went Calcutta, I never went to Calcutta, I stayed in the Bagh Bazaar, Gaudiya Math, which is the spiritual world. I never made many disciples because I saw that all these souls who came to me were actually sent by me as my spiritual master to teach me. And I never opened many temples because I didn't just open an institutional building, I opened up an embassy of the spiritual world. I was like, okay, you follow. It was very interesting to be able, Saragrahi Vaishnav, to be able to grasp the essence. So that is an art. And yes, there are many unknowns in life. Maybe that's how life is meant to be. Because unless we're willing to let go, how can we experience Krishna's embrace? So Krishna makes there has to be unknowns, because that's our opportunity to let go. And when we let go, that's when we can feel the presence of Krishna more tangibly. We have a chronic tendency to want to hold on, to want to control. I was just in the plane coming here, actually not on this flight, on a different flight. And you know, sometimes there's turbulence, and I mean, this time it was bad. Turbulence when you're in the air is one thing. Turbulence when you're going off on takeoff, that's like scary. But it's interesting, when the plane goes vroom, goes down, what's the first thing everyone does? They're like, everyone holds on to their seat. So I was thinking about that. It's actually completely irrational. I mean, if the plane's going down, holding onto your seat ain't going to do anything. I mean, you can't. It's pointless. But we have this chronic tendency to try to want to control things. So Krishna makes these unknowns. Srila Prabhupada's life was always about going into the unknown. Srila Prabhupada got the dream to take sannyas. He said it was ghastly. But he made that step into the unknown. Srila Prabhupada got passage to go to America. It was a complete unknown, but he went. When Srila Prabhupada was in Butler, Pennsylvania, then he realized it wasn't happening there. So he said, I have to go to New York. He went into the unknown. In New York, Srila Prabhupada was in Dr. Mishra's apartment in Uptown. Prabhupada realized it's not the place. I need to go to the Lower East Side. When he couldn't go to the Lower East Side, that's the Skid Row. Prabhupada was ready to go into the unknown. So it seems as though Srila Prabhupada's life was just a continual journey into the unknown. And it seems that when the devotee makes the journey into the unknown, that's when you meet Krishna on the other side. So that's why it requires bravery. After some time in Krishna consciousness, you realize if you really want to do this path, you have to be extremely brave. You have to be extremely courageous. It's risky business. Krishna consciousness is risky business. But big reward, yeah. The biggest risks have the biggest rewards. So, anyway, these are some thoughts. Okay, maybe last one, and then I guess we should stop.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Just carrying on from your answer devotee there about bhakti being a life of prayer. So personally, I see that in my case. I can see that in many situations, my heart is full of blocks or knots. And I can see that actually what I need to do to overcome them is to pray intensely, as you're saying, to get on your knees and beg Krishna to please help me overcome them. Because I can see that all I'm trying, that my own endeavor is not working, but I still have so much faith in my material ability to be able to overcome these knots and these blocks in my heart. An easy example I can give is on Sankirtan, that you're out there and you're trying, nothing is happening. And on one side that I just really have to, that externally I have to make the effort, but what is really needed is that internal surrender, is that I just really have to beg. But there's so much pride there. So even though I know that this is what I have to do, there is so much pride in the heart that why do I have to beg? Can't Krishna see that I'm making such an effort? Why doesn't he reciprocate? So this arrogance is there. And I can see that this is actually preventing me from moving ahead. Yeah. So how do I overcome this?
The material world is a humbling place. His Grace Burijan Prabhu is in Govardhan, and like when you go around Vrindavan, you see these sugarcane machines. So he saw the sugarcane machine, and then he made a prayer. May the hard, crushing wheel of life extract some humility from my offense-hardened heart, and may the nectar of that humility give rise to pure love for Krishna. I was like, wow. I don't know if I want it to happen. May the hard, crushing wheel of life extract some humility from my offense-hardened heart. So the hard, crushing wheel of life, mrityu samsara sagarat. But otherwise, there's different ways to get humble, I guess. That's one way. Another way is by being in the presence of incredibly exalted personalities. One person came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was an eminent person, he said. He said to his friend, I'll come and see the sadhu, but I'm not bowing down to him. I don't bow down to anyone. And he came into the room, and unconsciously, against his own will, he just went down. And he said, I was going down. I was like, why am I going down? I don't bow down to anyone. Then he realized Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purity was so great that in the presence of such a personality, you realize, oh my God, who am I? So when we're surrounded by such people, then we think, yes, maybe I'm not as... So like this, there are different ways, through knowledge, through association, through experience. We need all the help we can get, because Trinadapi Sunichena, you can't, the route to the spiritual world goes via that, humility. You can't circumvent that. There's no other road that goes there. Every other road is blocked. Is there another route? Can I try a different way? No. That. You have to go through that. So we're praying. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.